a guten Rosh Chodesh Elul. I'd like to thank Chazaq and Torah Anytime. Also, this shir is for a refuah shleima for Binyamin Yonatan ben Maya Esther. As we know, last night was Rosh Chodesh Elul. Tonight's Rosh Chodesh Elul. Elul is upon us. What is the power of Elul, and what is our avodah, our work that we have to put into Elul? What are we supposed to do in Elul to prepare ourselves for Rosh Hashanah, for the big day of judgment? We do know that Chazal teach us that even the fish shake during Elul. Now, obviously, if you're going fishing, you might not know the difference. But as a general rule, the fish, it says, shake in Elul because Hashem created that the whole world, the nature, gets affected when Elul is upon us. So the Trumas Hadeshen says an unbelievable thing. He says like this. He says that in Parsha Shalach, in the beginning of the Shalach, when Moshe Rabbeinu sends out the spies, it says, Shalach lecha anashim v'yasuru es eretz Canaan, and they should check out the land of Canaan. The Targum on the words v'yasuru, to check out, uses the lashon elulin, which means to spy out. So he says, you see in the words, in elulin, you see the word Elul. That our mission and our job in Elul is to spy out ourselves, to discover in ourselves, to check into ourselves our behavior so that we can change. That in the words, V'yasuru es eretz Canaan, we see the word elulin, he says. It means elulin, which means Elul, which means that we have to check ourselves out. So you see that the term Elul is to spy out, to check into our behavior and to check our actions. Now, many Rishonim actually highlight the initials of the words Elul in different psukim and different sources. And from there, we learn out various things. One of the beautiful things I saw, actually, is we know there's a Mishnah in Avos that says, Al shloisha dvarim ha'olam oimid. The world stands on three things. First two Mishnahs in Avos, that the world stands on three things. What are they? Torah, Avodah, and Gemilas Chasadim. So these are the pillars that the world stands on. That means that in order for the world to have a kiyum, in order for the foundation of the world, for the world to stand, we need these three pillars. Again, Torah, Avodah, Gemilas Chasadim. So I saw an unbelievable pshat. Many different Rishonim bring down different sources. But one of the things I saw is that we see that Elul's avodah is to work on the three pillars. Torah, Avodah, Gemilas Chasadim. How do we see that? In Mishpatim, it says, there's a pasuk that talks about a person that kills b'shogeg. What does it say? It says, V'asher lo yitzida, somebody that didn't wait in ambush. That means he didn't purposely try to kill somebody. V'elokim, and Hashem, ana l'yada, he's the one that actually caused this person to kill by accident. There's no accidents, literally, no pun intended. There are no accidents, but when someone does do things, Hashem is behind it, especially if there was no thought process of his actions taking place. Therefore, it says, he caused it to happen through his hand. Hashem says, I will place for you a place, makam lanas, a place to run. So in the words, we have the words El. That a person has a place to run to when he committed certain averis. Obviously it was b'shogeg, but he has a place to run to. What is this place to run to? This is the Bet Midrash and to Torah. One of the things, the pillars, Torah, a person knows that what does he have to do? He has to run to this during the month of Elul, because this is what needs to be fixed. This is where a person finds his refuge. And the Gemara in Makot, Daf Yud, tells us that Torah is a place of refuge for a person. It's a place where a person finds himself protected and where he can find himself. Therefore, we see again the words Elul when it comes to one of the pillars of the foundations of the world in Torah. Avodah, what's avodah? Tefillah. Avodah is tefillah. We say that, that Eizu Avodah Shebelev. What is the Avodah Shebelev? Avah is tefillah. This is tefillah. So we see the words also in tefillah. We see Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me, which is said in Shir HaShirim. And Shir HaShirim is a conversation and a thought process of a husband and a wife showing love to each other. Therefore, we see that tefillah also is one of the foundations of the world, and it's one of the foundations in the words Elul, because you have Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. Elul is in those words. So we see Torah and Avodah and Gemilat Chasadim. Where do we see Gemilat Chasadim? It says in Gemara Megillah, in not Gemara Megillah, in the Megillah itself, it says, "Oh, matanas levyonim ish l'reyehu," right? That a person should give matanas levyonim and ish l'reyehu. And in the words of matanas levyonim and ish l'reyehu, umatanas levyonim ish l'reyehu, we find the words El. So a human being, if he wants to protect himself, a person, if he wants to protect himself during the month of Elul, he should work on Torah, Avodah, and Gemilat Chasadim, because you see the words Elul in all three of them. So that's our Avodah. Our Avodah is to perfect ourselves, to prepare ourselves for that month. Now, I want to tell you an unbelievable, beautiful thing that I saw. Rev Pesach Kron always brings this down. I actually heard it from Rav Shlomo Tadlbaum himself, but I know, like I said, Rev Pesach Kron always says it over, and it's an unbelievable chidush, an unbelievable thought process that we have to go into in the month of Elul. We know in Amos, in the Navi in Amos, it says, a Lashon, Aryeh Shoeg, a lion roars. There's a pasuk that says, Aryeh Shoeg, a lion roars, and then in a question form, he says, Milo Yira. Who doesn't fear? When a lion roars, who doesn't fear a lion? The lion is not the strongest animal. The lion is not the biggest animal. Yet when a lion roars, there's an authority that he shows upon the rest of the jungle that he's the king. When a lion roars, it causes a certain trepidation, it causes a certain fear, and a person's fearful. An animal is fearful. Even a person, like I said, is fearful. So Chazal teach us that in the word Aryeh, you have Elul, Aleph is for Elul, Reish is for Rosh Hashanah, Yud is for Yom Kippur, and Hey is for Hoshana Rabbah. That these days come upon a person, like a lion, Aryeh, Shoeg, he's roaring. These days are roaring to a person. Milo Yira, a person won't fear. Of course a person is going to be fearful. When someone knows that these days are upon him, he's going to start, thinking, making tremendous machshava on his life, on his doings, on his actions. So Shlomo Tadlbaum, a big Rav, a big tzaddik actually, a very special man that lived in Kew Gardens, finished a few years ago, he said over that it always bothered him. He never understood. Aryeh Shoeg Milo Yira. A person's always fearful that when the lion roars. Not always. People wake up sometimes, listen, we're in the middle of the summer now. People are still upstate. People are still enjoying themselves, which is wonderful. They should. But is everybody walking around tonight and scared that Rosh Hashanah is coming up? There are Yechidim. I'm not going to say there aren't people. But summer's still going. Summer's still strong. There'll still be the barbecues. There'll still be all the good times. It's understandable. But where is this fear? Where is this fear? So it always bothered him. It's not so pashut that when the lion roars, when these days come upon us, all the days, is a person as fearful as he should be. So he said over that he was once in the zoo with his kids on Chalamoid. And they were all excited. They were all excited to go to the lion's den. Oh, they couldn't wait till they get to the lion's den. Anyway, when they finally got there, what does his kids do? They stand next to the cage, a little further away, and they start making sounds at the lion. They start making all these sounds, like, mimicking the lion, like showing that they're not scared of this lion. And they're going, and he says to himself, where's the fear of the lion? Where's the fear of the lion? So he says he realized then what's pshat. He said that when the lion is caged behind bars, of course you're not going to be scared of the lion. When the lion is encaged, you're not going to fear the lion. When does one fear a lion? When the lion is let loose. When the lion is let loose, that's when you can fear it. If those cages are not there, you'll be scared of that lion. Therefore, what do we need to do? We need to break the bars that separate us, our actions, our timtum, our aveirah, whatever it is, our behavior, that build cages around the fearness that we should have, the fearfulness that we should have for that lion. And we need to break those bars. We need to separate ourselves and let the lion loose. When you let the lion loose, then you could fear. Then you could fear the lion. And he says that it says in Hoshana Rabbah, at the end of Hoshana Rabbah's tefillah, we say Yehi Ratzain, we say that Hashem should break the mechitas habarzel, the bars, the metal bars that separate Beinenu Uveino, that separate him from us. We need to break down those bars. And when we break down those bars, and you let the lion loose, then the lion can scare you. So we need to work on that. And one last thing I want to end with on El. I want to end on something I heard from Rav Moshe Weinberger. Rav Moshe Weinberger Shlita, Rav in Eish Kodesh in the Five Towns, says an unbelievable thing. He says that if you look at the words Ani LeDodi v'Dodi Li, the lashon of Dodi is an interesting lashon. Now we know it's used a lot in Shir HaShirim, and we know that Shir HaShirim refers to like a husband and a wife, which is Hashem and the Torah, Jewish people and Hashem. It's our same connection, like same way a husband and a wife love each other, miss each other in situations. We love our Kadosh Baruch Hu and we miss him, and we've strayed from him at times. So we know the Shir HaShirim is based on our connection with our Kadosh Baruch Hu. So he says like this. He says the lashon of Dodi is a very interesting lashon. Really, the lashon should have been Ani la'ahuvi, I am to my beloved, va'ahuvi li, and my beloved is to me. That's the lashon that usually should have been used. The word oyev, love. What's the lashon of Dodi? What is this Dodi? What is this lashon of beloved? Comes from the word Dodi. So he says there are two types of marriages a person has. There's the regular marriage where most people have, which is a non-blood relative. Non-blood relative. You're not related to somebody. You get married, and and that's it. Then there's the marriage of a blood relative. In the times of the Gemara, in the times of our forefathers, a blood relative was something that people actually wanted to marry. You wanted to marry someone that was close to you. You know the family well. Even hundreds of years ago in Sephardic communities, I think, marrying a relative was not shunned upon, but was actually a beautiful union. And one of the beautiful unions of a marriage of a blood relative that the Torah brings down, and the Gemara brings down, obviously, is an uncle to a niece. An uncle to a niece is a very powerful marriage. It's a very powerful. We see Avram married Sarah, he was the uncle. We know Mordechai married Esther, he was the uncle. Boaz was considered like an uncle to Ruth. But that's the type of relationship that is not only not looked down upon years ago, but it was actually, like I said, a beautiful union. The difference between the two marriages is when somebody marries someone who's not related to him, if chas v'sholem they get divorced, that's it, it's over. The marriage is over. They have usually nothing to do with each other. Unless it's a peaceful situation with children. But a b'derech klal, you have nothing to do with that person. Yet, if you marry a blood relative, and chas v'sholem a person marries a blood and gets divorced, no matter what happens, they'll always be related. They'll always be connected through the relationship of the person. So therefore, what are we telling Hashem? We are telling Hashem, our marriage to you is not a marriage that's not related. It's a marriage of someone that's related to that person. What type of marriage? A dod. The marriage of an uncle. The marriage that we have at HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is a marriage of a niece, of an uncle to a niece. What does that mean? That no matter what happens, no matter how far we stray, no matter how far we don't do Ratzon Hashem, no matter how far we alienate Hashem from us, we will always be related. And Hashem will never be able to let us go completely. So the message that we must understand, that no matter how far we've fallen, no matter how far we've strayed, we'll always be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A Yid always has that connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, I want to leave with a story that actually happened to me probably around 7 years ago today, upstate New York. 7 years ago today, I remembered it. It would happen on Rosh Chodesh Elul, upstate New York. I was driving, at the time I was in a Bomela colony called the Irvington, I was a Rebbe there, and I was driving back from I think ShopRite it was, on Route 42, ShopRite, and I see a boy walking in the street, and I wasn't sure if he was Jewish or not, and I'll be honest, many people are hitchhiking upstate, a lot of Hasidim that don't own cars, a lot of people don't have, like today, 2-3 cars, and a lot of people, they hitchhike, many people are hitchhiking, from people. Now, I can't stop for everybody, otherwise I'll be at car service the whole day. So sometimes I stop, sometimes I don't. It depends on the weakness, on the right thing to do at times. And I remember I'm looking at this boy. I wasn't even sure he was Jewish. Ponytail, nose rings, earrings, very interesting look. But I said, you know what? I'm not scared. I'll stop, pick him up, gets into my car. And I realized, I hopped somehow he was a Yid. He was a Yid. No yarmulke, obviously, with the way he was dressed, I'm saying. And I asked him, sometimes I'm in the mood to ask, sometimes I'm not. I asked him, I said, what's your name? He tells me his name. I said, where are you from? He goes, from Far Rockaway, where I live. I said, from Far Rockaway. And then I put 2 and 2 together. I realized who his father was. And I realized that his father is actually still in Kollel at the time. 7 years, he was still in Kollel for 20-something years. And I realized that there's a difference between him and his father, obviously. And I knew that there must have been tremendous amount of problems that probably arose in that household with the father and this kid in the Ya'adut, in his religious observance and his behavior. I'm sure there was a lot of strain. So I decided, I said, you know what, obviously I asked him where he was going. He said he's going to Kayamisha. I had around 3-4 minutes to converse with him. So I asked him, I said, can I tell you something? But don't worry, I told him, I will not give you musar. I won't give you musar. I won't tell you, any ashkafa or anything like that. But I want to tell you something that I think would benefit you. I think you'll be happy with what I tell you. Can I tell it to you? He goes, yes. So I said to him like this. I said, if a father is walking in the street and a car is coming at 100 miles an hour, and the father knows he can only save him or his son. Let's say it's coming. What does a normal father do? He pushes his son out of the way. That's what he does. He pushes his son out of the way and he'll take the hit. That's almost like a reflex of a father. But then I said to him, what happens if the father is not 100%? He's delusional, he's not thinking clearly, and he thinks a car is coming at 100 miles an hour. But really there is no car at all, I told him. Will the father still push his son out of the way? Of course he'll push his son out of the way. Because in his mind, he thinks a car is about to hit him. So I said to him like this. I said, I'm not here to tell you Judaism is right, Judaism is wrong. I'm not telling you hashkafa. But I just want you to know one thing. Your father, I know him very well, I told him. I said, your father really, really believes in this. He believes in it. He believes in Gan Eden. He believes in Gehenna. He believes in Olam Haba. This is what he believes in. And he believes in it strongly, because I know your father, I told him. So it's only normal that he's going to push these things on you. It's only normal he's going to push these things on you because he loves you, because he cares about you. I said, I'm not telling you to even listen to him, but know that it's coming from a good place. Don't fight with him. Don't argue. Go into your room, I told him. Just close the door and even laugh if you want. Don't feel bad, but laugh. But it's, it's good for you not to argue with him for your sake. What do you need the arguments for? What do you need the back and forth? I said, that's what he believes in. He's going to tell you what he believes. You decide what you want to do. Anyway, we got to the stop. I dropped him off. And that was the end. I said, was it okay what I told you? He says, yeah, it's okay what you told me. I appreciate it, and that was the end of it. A month later, it was Rosh Hashanah. And I live by Beach 9th in Far Rockaway. And right by the beach I live. So when people do Tashlach, they come from Cedarhurst, they come from Lawrence, they come from Far Rockaway, obviously. So there's hundreds of people, thousands, are passing by on the second day of Yantiv for Tashlach. So I'm standing outside talking to someone, and I hear someone call my name from across the street. He comes across the street and he goes, Rabbi Walkin, how are you? Rabbi. And I looked at him and I recognized him. But the only difference was no ponytail. He was wearing a yarmulke. His nose and earrings were off within a month. Now, I'm not going to tell you it was because of me. That's not what I'm going to tell you. But I will tell you what he told me. He said to me, Rabbi Walkin, I want you to know, from the moment you told me what you told me in that car ride, I made up my mind I will not fight with my father. And for the last month, I didn't have one argument with my father. And not only that, my father stopped telling me so much things. I didn't argue with him. And I want to tell you that it felt so good this month that I was able to connect with my father without fighting with him. So you never know, I said to myself, with the Pintel Yid, with the proper words, with the proper attitude that you have, to stop fighting. And when you stop fighting, you realize that you could grow. And when you realize you can grow, you can get close to Hashem. So I want to leave you with that. Have a wonderful, wonderful Chodesh and a Shabbat Shalom to all of you.